everybody. This is Richie from the Metal Cell podcast. First of all, I want to give a shout out to our main sponsors, Rising Suns, the award-winning brewery in Cork. Do check it out if you happen to be in Cork. I must say, it's a great honour to welcome back two pals of the show, Keith and Luke from Dog Tired. How are we, lads?
Hello.
Yeah.
Good, man. It's not been that long since we've seen you last.
Yeah. Thanks for all the beers and everything, lads. I'm so corruptible, like, you know, just for having you on the whole time, you know? But so, like, the reason you're on tonight is, and I'm really looking forward to it, is we're doing a track by track of the Red Verse new album, which is out the same day this podcast is out. So it will be fun. The album is fucking mind-blowing. It's your best album yet. It's got everything that I love: heft, riffs, drumming, singing, just the whole fucking party rolled into one big chunk of fucking metal, which is the Red Verse. So congratulations, first of all.
Cheers very much, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and you're one of the few people to actually have it. You got sent it in advance and everything.
Yeah,
sneaky file sent.
Yeah.
But you can see straight away the amount of work you put into it. It's fucking fantastic. And a big shout out also to Jamie for the production on it. Top class.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Like it
does sound amazing. Okay, let's go into the Red Verse. Let's get started, lads. And we'll just go through each track. I've picked out certain sections. Obviously, I'm not going to play it every single one from start to finish. But the sections I picked out are some of the favorite sections that I like in each song. So we'll start off then.
I'm excited to hear what your favorite sections are.
Yeah.
You won't be surprised. Anyway, so this is Fracture. My reaction when I heard a fucking shitload of blast beats on the opening track of Fracture, like, lads, what the fuck? Sick, absolutely sick. What an opener. It's an obvious one, I think, out of all the songs there, that is the first song to fucking open the album with, really. That's my opinion. You chose well.
Yeah, I think that one was probably the most, took the longest time to get together overall, just because of the fact that we were like, we could feel that the bits we had was the opener, but we were like, it needs to be absolutely stonking. Like, you know, it has to have be hidden and be intense as fuck at the start, but it also needs to have like elements of everything we've got throughout the album.
Yes.
So that first song just needs to be like the whole album compacted in one tune. And then we got that big fat riff bit at the end, and we were like, "Oh, there it is."
It's funny, the kind of main riff. So that I remember having that riff, and I mean, like Keith had the drumming, came up the intro just by following the riff and that. But I had a tail. It was like in time, and it was like it had this like really fast bit at the end, and I was like, I can't be fucked learning that. So I just cut it out, and then the timing became weird, and I was like, "That's even cooler!" Like,
wow, okay, yeah. Jesus, do you know the way Dark Angel counted the riffs on their fucking?
I've seen that recently. Was it 200 and odd?
200 and something riffs. Was it Time Does Not Heal? I think maybe, or I think that could have been the album. Yeah. The fucking amount of riffs on this album is just fucking jaw-dropping, man. We need somebody out there to fucking count them, because I can't do it, because I just lose my shit every time I listen to it. But like, Luke, Jesus.
I think we tried, but we're drinking cans, and then you start to not count as well. And then you get confused as well. Barry always says it's like your riffs, you're a dick because it never actually repeats. Like there's always a difference in the tail or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I don't really think about it. It's but we tried, but we've drank cans, but we'll try again drinking cans for yourself, and then we'll send you the final verdict. So.
We'll put it on the album in one of those wee stickers, like 36 riffs.
This contains 436 riffs and 2 solos.
Fuck you.
That's the way we want it, mate. That's
yeah. Keith have been following that. Sorry, Luke. Following those riffs there, even on the first track alone. With the blast beats, when you dissect each song, as we will going along, what stood out for you there in Fracture? Was it that riff that Keith was on about? Was that the one that you had to follow? And
well, that song I think it was like maybe 3 different sections that were joined together, and they had different parts and stuff like that. I knew I wanted to start off fast, like just because but fast different to any of the albums that we've done before. I kind of more like strapping your lad type.
It's as strapping as we've ever been.
Brilliant comparison.
And I wanted just that like immediate like punch in the face. You're like, fucking hell, man, this is mental.
Yeah,
I wanted that. And then the kind of middle section just came about that with a big minging fucking sleazy pick scrape. That came about from just like we jammed the start, and then we were like, what's meant to come next? And that's just what naturally came next. I just made that up on the spot. Fuck it, this will do. Like you're not even knowing really what you're doing. You just know it's going to go gin.
Yeah, I think that was probably when you were listening to quite a lot of Nails. And things like that. And it's got that kind of influence of like, I want to sound disgusting. Like, but then because we are dog tired, we end up, even if we play a riff like Nails, we end up making it sound like it's our style anyway. Like it's like Nails style, but with total dog tired riff energy kind of thing.
Okay.
But it's like what I really like about all the riffs on this album and all the kind of it's always really intricate with me and Keith the way that we kind of work it. Because essentially he's playing riffs on the drums. You know what I mean? Because he understands the riff, and that's the way it kind of goes. But I didn't get bogged down about like, I have this whole section, Keith. Like this is what we're doing. It was more like pretty much every song I would come in with like, I've been fucking about with these 4 riffs for the past 50 minutes before we've came here. What should we do? And there was just no rules. So most of it was made up on the spot between me and Keith, which is I think that's something that's kind of lost like in music a lot. I think there's like a lot of stuff like it's planned before it's even happened. And sometimes you don't get that rawness, that kind of like, fuck, that guy's having fun feeling.
Yes. Like. Yeah, actually, yes. Go on, Keith.
There's no rules unless I come in with a blast and then he's like, what you did? And then like maybe 3 practices later, he's like, that's the best bit.
Richie, that type of blast. It's in this album all the time. When we first started writing tunes, I was like, I fucking hate that. and then Keith got me into Pipe Destroyer, and I was listening to them for a bit.
Sure, Jesus Christ, there's a fucking perfect example. Yeah,
I fell in love with some of the riffs, especially like Army of Cocks and that. I was like, fuck, that smell. And then just slowly but surely that I was like, Keith, see that wee blast, mate?
And you know what? It definitely defines the sound as well of this album. That those drums, the way you had them done, Keith. We're gonna talk about more stuff and maybe your role as sometimes like we referenced it before as you're doing the Lars Ulrich on it, man. But we'll just examine your role as a conductor in maybe 1 or 2 songs that are coming up. I'd be just interested to hear your views on it. Trying to keep the boy here in line,
Yeah, I'm quite worried with the reference to Lars Ulrich, but Lars really rate Lars Ulrich because I think he's like one of those drummers that he plays exactly what Metallica need. So I actually really like his drummer. I think he's fucking ace. But I know a lot of people don't. But
I think it's exactly what it needs for the riff. He's flary, he's just there to fucking leather it.
Playing for the tune, kind of thing.
Playing for the tune, yeah, exactly. Okay, second track, Eyes of the Divine. Here we go. This is the section I picked out for it. Of the album, there's nice punches in it, Luke, with this it's kind of littered right through the album, or and it's another fucking punch, isn't it, really?
Yeah, totally. I enjoy that kind of, you're playing a riff and then suddenly you're just hitting the open strings at the bottom, but they're out of tune on purpose. So like they're not in the key of what you're playing. It doesn't sound nice. It sounds fucking it's just I think it's like subconsciously I must love doing that and just kind of throw them in quite a lot, like, I guess. So but I think that riff, I mean, like we knew it was a good riff, but then you were going through the recording process. And then you get to the end, and every musician goes, "Is this shit? Are folk going to like this?" You know what I mean? Everyone does that. But then releasing that song first, and just suddenly it paying off, and everyone being like, "Oh, people were grabbing me when I was just going to other gigs, shouting in my face, that fucking riff, man!" I'm like, "Holy shit, cool!" So no, it's good, and I think we joke saying that's got the Hollywood chorus. That if we're ever going to get to Hollywood, we're riding about in limos, it's because of that fucking chorus.
Keith, maybe talk about the vocal performance with Luke and Chris in that song in particular, because that section for me I thought was so fucking powerful with the two vocals there, one on top of the other.
Did you say me?
Yeah.
Oh, right, sorry. Yeah.
I wanted your opinion on it rather than Luke, who's obviously singing.
That's fine. Man, I think with this album we've definitely gone much more for the dual vocals. Yeah, I think at that stage, you kind of follow like your heroes and the way that their bands are set up. That's kind of how you start out as a band, and you're like, do you know what? You've got the singer, you've got this. Like all of these bands that you watch when you're growing up, like Metallica, Pantera, and all that, Slayer. They've always got these formations, and there's always a main singer. There's always that feeling behind it. And it wasn't until like we started using them in Electric Abyss, obviously the two vocals. But in this album, you're kind of like, why are we not utilizing all the best tools we have to make the best album ever? And this one was just like both vocals blaring, sounding like one big man. Is basically the best possible way to do it. And I think their voices have melded together so much now that sometimes I was like, oh, I can't hear Chris there, or I can't hear Luke. And then when you eliminate one of them, you're like, oh, it is there. You just kind of, they've merged together now, which is really cool.
It is really cool, yeah.
The way that the vocals sound on it, like the absolute epicness of, for example, that chorus, it's just exactly the kind of sound that I want. There's quite a lot of times where you'll be listening to a new band. There's loads of new bands that come out and someone sends it to you, and you put it on, and you're just waiting for the singing to ruin it. I tend to find, because like that's the most likely thing that's going to not be to my taste. And I think that what they're doing is just exactly the type of vocals I want to hear. Like if you're concentrating and you're listening to it, you can hear what they're saying, but it just sounds absolutely brutal. And it's also toned. And I like tones, like when it's heavy as hell, but toned, not without doing the actual singing, but like that's kind of my favourite way of working, where you get a chorus that actually is catchy, or well, it's got a hook, but it's not singing, it's not like a pop chorus or anything like that. It's within it still being metal as hell. It's catchy. That's like my favourite thing, and that's why Eyes is so good for me, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think you can be really, really quite crafty with like getting hooks and coming up with different types of hooks. But I think it's something that's quite like lost in metal. There's not like the singer just sometimes sings from start to finish and a song, but there's no actual part that captured you or like a kind of proper hook. So we're all really into just having still some sort of hook. Whether that be on the vocals or the drums or the guitar or that.
It's a valid point, Luke, because I think it's something that's kind of slowly faded out with metal. The last time there was really great hooks, you probably look at the late 80s, 90s, and you know, even like you're talking about your traditional grunge bands, they all had fucking fantastic hooks as well, and great singers back it up. But it just turned on its head really, and fucking we went for years without. And I agree with you, Keith, that sometimes an album, to me, it depends on the fucking vocalist's delivery.
Yeah.
You know, and if they're creative with their delivery, either dueling up or, you know, using different effects, it keeps the listener interested as well.
I think there's also with vocals, it's like if the vocalist like fucking means it, you know, when you can tell when they're pelting it out, that makes such a difference. I'm sure someone told me years ago, it's like, doesn't matter what you're saying as long as you fucking mean it when you're singing a song. And it's like, it's true. You can be singing about, you know, wizards and like, you know, mad fucking sci-fi horror, which we do quite a lot.
Yeah, it's good that it doesn't matter what we were talking about.
Like, but the lyrics of the whole album, I managed to weirdly get them together all within like 5 weeks, and just like while I was working at the same time and stuff like that. But because I did that, I mean, I wasn't too precious. I always come up with like, what's the hook? How's it going to sound before I kind of come up with lyrics? And then the writing the lyric process is like, it's just fun because you're just, you know, drinking cans, watching horror films and stuff like that. And they just kind of naturally come. But because I did it in such a small succession, they're all kind of weirdly linked. It's not like, it's not a concept album, but it's the fucking closest we could get.
Okay. Yeah. And
but Eyes of the Divine's about like, you know, some sort of like nomad scouring the desert wastelands on some sort of ridiculous planet, looking for holy men to cut their eyes out and keep them for fun.
Love it. And
all the lyrics came from like the idea, that chorus, like born to murder the world. I don't know if you've ever seen a film called Lord of Illusions by Clive Barker.
I've read the book, I think.
So it was a book. So the main guy, the Puritan, that was like the kind of basis of this idea came. And he wears a big weird mask in that. That I was like, well, that's heavy metal as fuck. And I'm sure at one point he shouts, I was born to murder the world. So I was like, fucking
class. And here I was thinking it was a Stephen King influenced song. But yeah, that's fucking cool, man. Clive Barker, Jesus.
No, I read loads of stuff when it was like a mixture of Clive Barker, obviously The Evil Dead, and Necronomicon. I mean, the Necronomicon was present when we recorded the whole fucking album, as it should be. But, you know, just I kind of fully immerse yourself in just all this cool stuff and this sci-fi horror that you're reading, and then that's what comes out. So
we've kind of become cosmic horror. And I think cosmic horror metal is basically what we are.
Yeah. I'm conscious of staying too much on the one song, but you got Alan Swan in to do a fantastic video. Where was the church?
The church is honestly right next door to my house, man. It's my next door neighbor, Jesus. So so to be fair, the guy's called Craig, and he runs this, I think it's like SG Solutions or something like that. He bought over the church. It was only $100,000, but he's like a mountain rescue guy.
Okay.
So in there, they've kitted all the ceiling out. I think it's opening actually this Saturday when we do the launch. We're invited along weirdly, but he's kitted all the roof out to be like for training people for mountain rescue. But I just clocked him in the garden one time. I was like, all right, mate, I'm your neighbor. So I ended up getting chatting, got a tour of the place. Was standing there, was like, so this would be great for a metal video.
Yeah, of course.
You're in a band, and I was like, aye. So So it was a case. He was just the nicest guy. Gave us the keys and was like, "Fucking bash away, guys. Go for it."
Yeah,
fantastic.
And that's why you can see like the big rigging in the middle. But we were like, that's not going to ruin it. If anything, it just makes it look more mental. Yeah, and like because big bits of metal are always going to look cool.
Yeah, I think somebody threw that on the comment section about the rig, didn't they?
You see, like there's a shot at the end of me just doing the final scream, "Eyes of the Divine," and you can see my breath and literally steam like coming off my face, and that's because it was fucking cold as fuck when we were in there. It was like we did it in January. It was like snow.
Ah, Jesus!
It looked really warm, the video, but it was fucking Baltic.
It was Baltic,
yeah, class, man. That really was the obvious single, wasn't it? The first single for all of you.
Well, as any band always have arguments over what should be the single in that, but I was like, has to be, man. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, we all agreed there on that. The first and second spot on. Of Severed Gods is next.
I'm looking forward to your section.
Sex?
I'm looking forward to your sex.
Looking forward to this next.
I'm glad you said it, not me. Of Severed Gods. Here we go. Sake. My God, like Jesus, there's just like that section again was deliberate because I wanted to get across the power of the chorus and the different little fucking intricate changes, and then it just goes fucking all out trash at the end. It's so there's so much going on with that song. I just went, fuck, how are they going to actually do this live? That must be a difficult one, I'd say. Or are you going to go, no, it's probably the easiest?
It's not, like, riff-wise, it's not. I don't know about you on drums, Keith. It's just, like, I sing that whole song, and it's like, singing in the studio is a bit different to be just leathering riffs and being like, oh, yeah, fuck, I have to breathe.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
It's the fastest, like syllables of, like, I've sang in a long time.
Okay.
We've got to that point that's sounding fucking banging now, so it's all good, like.
Yeah.
Because that's been this thing for a wee bit now, so. I
think the hardest thing about playing that song live on drums is playing at the speed it's meant to be rather than too fast.
Yeah.
Because I always come on and I'm just like,
it doesn't help me
like, slow the fuck down.
I'm usually shouting to the crowd just before Keith's doing the countdown. This is a fast one. And Keith's like, I know.
It's weird that like the fastest songs, you think you would play them too slow, if anything, but I always just speed up for some reason. And I wonder why my legs are absolutely burning. And then I watched the video back and I played it like twice the speed.
But saying that, we played it twice the speed, but we're still really tight as fuck.
Yeah, we were tight. So that's the
my right arm was killing me. I was like, man, I can't fucking breathe here, but cool. But that end bit, Richie, like that part you were talking about there.
Yeah.
So that's all made up in the jam room. I didn't even have that riff. And that all the intricacies in that we just did in what, half an hour, Keith, and we just
because that was when you get the weird and then the second time it does it twice. And it's like it was just these changes that were like it's 3 and then it's 2. And then just to mess with people's minds, basically.
There was like lots of backwards and forwards being like, just like, oh yeah, let's make that a 2. Why? Because it's fucking cool. Fuck it. It was almost like, I do feel like when we were writing this stuff, we went into like the jam room, and it was just, it was during COVID, so it was just exciting to be there, to get out and be able to do stuff.
Okay.
And I think we did a really good job, Keith, of like kind of just going in with like the blank brain. Like total white noise, and being like, fuck it, let's just fucking do whatever we want. You know what I mean?
That section that came in there is pretty much just like it's almost like playing about with the different kick styles that you can get. Like the first bit that comes in is full on kicks, then it's like quadruplets, and then it's triplets, and then it's the slower kicks that are in I don't know what it's called, but they're basically in 6s almost. And it's just a section, but it ends up sounding cool as fuck.
Yeah. But is it just constant repetition in practicing that makes you remember this?
No, we're pretty good at just kind of, like me and Keith are pretty good at just like remembering, like kind of what we did. But what we do is we just record it on the phone, like there and then, and usually completely forget that we ever wrote it. And then we'll be like 4 songs later, and I'm talking we were pumping a song out like a practice kind of thing. We were just like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then we would be like, fuck, we should probably go back and try and remember that one. Yeah. Either listen to jam, but a lot of times we'd be like, round the mine drinking cans or something like that when we're allowed to. And then we'd be like, oh, get that tune on. And then made our friends suffer listening to our phone recordings. That what's this bit? So it's like, it's kind of just, even though Keith's on the drum kit, it is definitely like the mentality of 2 guitarists. Just
100%. Yes, 100%. Let's talk about the role of Barry in the band. Like, does Barry get these when they're more or less demoed to hell, or?
It completely depends, to be honest. Like sometimes because we were doing it during COVID, you weren't allowed multiple people and all that stuff. So basically, me and Luke would go in and write bits and pieces, and then Barry will come in, but he still has says on things as well. Like he'll come in and he'll be like, "Oh, that bit isn't as good there," or things like that. You know what I mean? But he comes in and basically has to learn the songs as we're going from Luke's hands, and Luke is, prides himself on doing what James Hetfield does, where basically you barely move your hand. So when he's playing riffs that are complicated, it's like Barry's just like, fuck's sake.
I honestly couldn't count how many times Barry's called me a fucking dick.
Oh, well, I do the same. I absolutely, you're a nightmare.
That tail. Then he would be saying things like, but that tail is the same as a tail that's like halfway through the song, but you just change 2 notes and a tiny little bit at the time. And I'm like, I know, man. He's like, what's the point? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking when I did it.
Barry's skill for being able to learn what you're doing is mental. Like, quite a lot of the time, I think you get bases really simplified stuff, whereas Barry will just play everything. It's pretty mad, like, unless it suits it being simplified sort of thing.
And even then, Barry's not the first to he's not the first to say, oh, I'm going to slow that down. He's more like, he's just like, for instance, Barry, we call him he is like a machine. He likes things in binary. So I'll just write some tabs, because it's not that he learns off the tabs, he learns off me, but it's just like little, as Keith was saying, I'll play like that. So it just is, he likes that, having that, and it's only when I'm tabbing it, I'm like, fucking hell, what was I doing? And sometimes I find it really hard because I just do it kind of thing. Yeah. But he takes that away, and then he'll put his own spin on the whole thing, and change bits and stuff. But a lot of the times we'll say, I'll just play like a kind of more straightforward note there, rather than he's learned the guitar riff on the bass.
Yes.
And then he'll kind of simplify it down. And we're kind of open to, all of us are kind of open to suggestions with all our instruments.
Yeah.
Maybe not immediately, but once it's
that's from experience.
You try writing something like that.
we're like, even though you want to defend your own ideas and stuff, but we're all that point that usually we'll go like, there's 2 ideas, and then we just say, oh well, quickly we've already merged that into one that wouldn't have happened unless we were all in the room together at the same time. So it's sometimes the best ideas. So.
Okay,
it's also probably when we're all together is the best time, when songs that aren't good enough get scrapped.
Yeah.
Because like we could be playing a song with me and Luke for you're jamming it, and you get right into it because you're doing all these intricacies. But then maybe Barry can come in and be like, I don't like that. And then it makes you question it. And then you're like, maybe that isn't good enough. And then it kind of, you don't even say it, but that song just slowly sort of falls by the wayside.
Okay.
And the other songs take precedence or whatever. And then that song just disappears.
Yeah.
So I think it is important, things like that, because sometimes it's hard to see that in what you're doing at the time.
Yeah, when you're so hyper-focused on it. But it's also like that, we all have that same feeling of, this song has to give me that vibe of like, or otherwise, we're not doing ourselves justice. It has to have that feeling, and that's what we go by. So.
Okay, track 4 is The Wall. This is sheer fury. Album, buy it. I'm not playing anymore. Oh shit. This song, I think the Slugs would approve.
Yeah,
I think they would approve. They would approve of the ghosty bands. Like, yeah, totally, man. Can't wait to show fucking Big Sean and Ron and that. Just be like, fucking check. I think did they not hear the demos, Keith, when they were?
They've heard the demos, but they've not heard the proper ones.
Aye, we were in some fucking neck as well when we were showing.
But I was talking to Ronan about it because you're correct. You did give him the demos, and Ronan just goes to me. He goes, "It's unfucking believable. Wait and you hear how heavy they're after getting." He was just saying it's fucking one of the best he's heard. So, I don't know about Sean, but like, I mean, Ronan was definitely forthright in saying it's fucking fantastic. It's super heavy and great riffs and everything. So, man.
Well, that's ace, though. That tune is like, that's the other one that I was like, that should maybe be the single, because it's just fucking stonking. It is. But like what we were thinking was we'll have multiple singles, and The Wall has got to be one of them, because The Wall is just like, it's the first tune that's dropped to, is it G sharp?
G sharp, yeah. Drop G sharp. Drop G sharp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as soon as it comes in, it's got that immediate punch of like, this is lower than all the stuff before it kind of thing. And it's funny because that bit that you showed there, where it's almost like a trick, where you're expecting it to go into a thrash beat or something like that, and then it just beefs out instead. Yeah. But that drum beat, because I've never learned like proper drumming techniques and stuff like that. I've just taught myself through us playing in the room and listening to other bands and stuff like that. And then I learned that kind of, it's like a ghost note thing, but like with the weird sort of ghost notes in the snare. And I learned that by playing, I think it's Love Gun, because...
Are you kidding me?
I heard it in a Kiss song, and I was like, that's actually really cool. Like, and then I was like, right, I've learned how to play that. And then I added double kicks, and I was like, well, that sounds cool. And then we got to that bit in The Wall, and I was building up for the thing, and I was like, no, I'm going to do the Kiss beat. And it ended up sounding fucking awesome.
It does, yeah, and fucking hell, I mean, what other fucking interviewer could get that out of you, like? You're in the circle of trust, Keith. I love it.
It's okay. I know your listeners.
And what's the story behind the song, The Wall?
The wall, really just. I was going to go to Hadrian's Wall.
Okay.
And I was kind of, I don't know, I think I was Googling like words, because not all of the walls there, obviously, it's all fallen down and shit. And then I came across this thing that's like, there was a cult of Mithras in the wall that was actually buried deep within it. And it was all the generals and the high hegions of the Roman army. They would all like secretly go down at night with the hoods on, and they would all believe in the cult of Mithras, which is the bull of war. But that was like outlawed in the empire. You weren't allowed to believe in any religion. So it was only like for the high noble ones that were allowed to go down there. So I just liked that concept.
Cool.
And I like the idea that wall's probably seen more blood and guts than any, like a lot of other structures in time. So the idea of the walls, like, you know, it breathes and pulses death, and it wants to like feed on pretty much, if you get too close to it, you're fucked. Yeah. So that's kind of, it's all about the bull of war conquering all, and like you being like your crest and your army being hung from the wall and shit like that.
Yeah. And I like the quenching the will of the wall. Really wanting people to be killed.
Mithras quenches the will of the wall. I was like, that sounds fucking cool, man.
I think that you came to me with that. You had that riff.
You had the title. You came up with the title.
Yeah, I had the title separately, but you had a riff, and I think it was called The Vein or something at the time. And I was like, cool. But that, basically the wall, I'd been drunk at parties all the time being like, I want to start a band called The Wall, and you're not allowed to be in it. And then he ended up writing that riff, and it's just like the chunkiest, heaviest thing, and it suits a name like The Wall. And then you wrote an entire thing about it, and it was mental. But it's quite cool as well, because when you're using things like, say, that have happened in the past in Britain or something like that, you can completely alter the facts, because we aren't using the version that is the past in Britain. We're using it in a completely different universe, a different planet, different thing entirely. So it just, you end up writing your own lore almost, which is quite cool. Like, and the Wall's just a big part of that kind of thing.
And so it happens a lot, like Keith or Barry, they'll whip out just even a word, and then suddenly my brain's like, and I'll run away, and I'll just be like, I've written that song from that one thing you said. What did I say? The wall. I mean, I've got this whole song about it, just because it's like, I just need a spark sometimes of just like, that's a cool idea. I can imagine that being a song. And The Wall is a great title for a song. And just that riff as well, like 100% suits it.
Yeah, it's nice that you tied it into Hadrian's Wall, which is cool. I mean, a big shout out as well to Hell Ripper, who's doing his part as well for promoting Scottish history, and you know, it's incredible what depth you can go to if you have a good historic grasp on what you're talking about, and like certainly Ireland isn't exposed enough to songs about our history and our fantasy, or you know, the heroes, Cuchulainn and all like that. So I love when a band delves into that.
Ireland's history is like mental. Like all the folklore and stuff like that. I mean,
exactly.
That's 30 bands worth of shit going on there. That all the songs are consistently cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, I mean, it's great because like, I mean, fucking Scotland has it as well. The Celts. I mean, hello. So like, yeah, it's cool that you did it. You did a shout out to Hadrian's Wall. Keep that explanation, Luke. Just don't change it.
No, we'll do.
Okay, Mars, the second single. This is my section I took out of it. synths come in at the end. They're the riffs I live for. They're the ones that define me in music. Those ones. Thank you, Luke.
I want to use that.
We're going to quote you.
Thank you.
You'll be quoted all over the album.
Oh my fucking God. Like when I heard that, like there was just tears. Like just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Like just building up to that riff. Are you conscious of where you are in the song in relation to maybe, are you thinking, when I deliver this, the fucking crowd will go bananas? Like, is there any element of that to you as a band that, like, both of you could kind of just stop in the middle and go, holy shit, man, wait, we play this live?
Yeah.
now that we've been playing that, yeah, because it's like, we've seen the reaction of people that hadn't heard it before. And the first time they're pitting and they're going fucking Raj and I've never heard the song before. That riff just comes in at the end and folk are like, holy shit. And then they just go for it. Yeah. But on Saturday is the first time we get to play it when everyone's seen the video and everyone knows what to expect. So I'm hoping that the fucking ceiling will cave in from metal.
It's a great second single. I mean, fucking hell. What carpenter built the triangle?
Oh, right. So that's my brother-in-law, Squee. They got married. Squee and Kirsty got married September. Oh. Actually, just before we went in to record the album. And our uncle had built this, like, built that triangle for like some beautiful part behind their ceremony when they got married. And the whole time I was like, that's heavy metal as fuck. That just looks really fucking heavy metal. So it was like the day before we went in to film it in LaBelle, I was like, Squee, you still got that triangle from your wedding? He's like, oh yeah, man, it's in the garden. We'll be round the now. So he just somehow fitted it in the band van and just took it up, built it up there. And it's just such an evil kind of ominous shape to have in a metal video.
Fuck it.
I would say there's some sort of hidden meaning in it, but it's not. It just looks heavy metal as fuck.
It does, yeah. Was it who gowned up on it in the video? Was it Chris?
What's that, man?
Who gowned up on it? Who was?
Oh, that was Barry. He had the greyest.
Was it Barry?
Yeah, he had the greyest beard. So.
Poor Barry, man. I remember when that beard was fucking black, man. Jesus
I remember when he had hair.
I also had hair.
Yeah. We're getting sentimental here. Mars, why the title Mars? Is it in connection with the whole story running through the album?
Yeah, I mean this one's really, if you think of the front cover of the red verse, that's all about Mars. So again, Clive Barker, I was reading, I can't remember, I wish I'd remembered the short story it was. It was in the Books of Blood. I think it was like volumes 4 to 6 or some shit.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. That's a long time ago. Holy
fuck. This guy's like, he's got everything in the world, but he feels like God's not with him anymore. So he creates hell on earth. And the whole time he's like torturing folk in this big massive silo that he's got. And God never comes, but he always feels like someone's following him. And it turns out it's the devil who's following the whole time, and he just dies in this like chamber. But then I love the idea of like someone just creating something that's like evil as fuck, like some sort of layer base thing like that. So I kind of changed the idea and made it the pain construct, but that would be created on Mars by the supreme great old beings.
Yeah.
And then in my head the whole time I was just like, yeah, Stonehenge on Mars, man. It just sounds metal as fuck. So that's how I kind of came up with the concept of the front cover and just spurted that all out to Laura, who did our front cover.
Yeah, she did a fantastic job.
Shouted all that in the pub, like, oh, Stonehenge on Mars, we do. And she was like, cool. So that was our first draft. I hope this is okay, guys. And we're like, well, that's exactly what was in my brain. So
wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's like, the lyrics are really dark and grim. I really like the part when it says, the devil lurks at the gates as God rots in paradise. So I was like, that sums it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that we wrote the As the Nail Deepens bit kind of almost as a band, like pretty much the day before. While we were going to record, we just we changed the chorus because it just wasn't sounding good enough. And then we ended up with that.
Keith, it was, remember we had recorded.
It was the same day we changed the lyrics.
We recorded all the guitars,
right?
And we're taking a day off, and I'd recorded the lyrics to that, and we were in the pub after it drinking pints, and you were like, here, why don't you fucking change the timing of that so it goes as the nail deepens in the hand of God?
Yes.
And I was like, well, we're going tomorrow and change it. So that's what I had a different timing. Like,
yeah, poor Jamie.
Yeah. Plus, I think Mars originally had like quite a long intro that we used to play in the practice room. There was like a long instrumental bit, and then we always got to that stage where it came in with the Forgotten World, and then we were just like, fuck it, let's just cut the start completely and just have it with starting with full vocals, full triplets, full everything, because we've never
done that before.
Yeah. And it works.
Also, it was like every band's probably had this feeling of like you have this intro part and you play the whole song and you're like, yeah, that was quite cool, and then someone makes, like Keith in this scenario, like made that decision. Why don't we just fucking get rid of that bit? And then suddenly you do it and you play it, and the song's just so much more exciting. You're just like, oh my God, you get that feeling. You're like, I can't fucking wait to play that again. Because it was like, just getting rid of that, the part that wasn't needed is just to the point and vicious. Like,
as Danielle would say, straight in, no kissing. Sums it up like. Okay, we'll move on to Relic. Now, the album, fucking hell, needed a breather, and but it needed something special. I think this is fucking really a great piece of work. I'm going to give the majority of the credit to you, Luke, because you're playing these. It's just fantastic. Let's just hear the section I took out of it. There's a nice surprise at the end. What acoustic guitar did you use?
I actually used it as a classical guitar. So
okay, classic.
Strings. I used I can't remember the name of it. It was my mate's son, Tommy Concrete from Tommy Concrete.
Tommy, shout out to Tommy. Yeah, cool.
Shout out to Tommy. I knew he had one. I knew he had lots of guitars, but it was just recently I saw him. He was playing the classical, so I just gave him a call. I was like, "Look, man, I was going to actually use my fucking beat up one I've got here. Where is it? Fucking somewhere. My first guitar, literally, because that's what I wrote on. And it was like, I can get in tune, but it's only me that can get in tune. And it has this like kind of warped and stuff. But in my head, I had the idea. I was like, well, I wrote on that, so it'd be quite a cool thing to record on the first guitar. And then last minute, I was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Just get a better guitar. So I asked him, and he lent me it. And so I played it and gave him the guitar back, but kind of sent him the track. And he was like, fuck you, you dick. I've not recorded anything on that guitar yet. You've recorded this. This is amazing.
Because I was going to ask, was there any guest appearances on the album? And even a song like Relic there, I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if there was someone on that? But there isn't, no guest appearances throughout the whole album. Yeah,
just me, man. And I like the ideas. That didn't actually take that long to get that whole bit together. I didn't have any ideas from other parts in the past for that. I was just kind of that sitting with the white noise, like total blank head, just essentially proper mindfulness, just pulling shapes with a hand, whilst watching Japanese samurai films that Alan Swan had lent me. So even the first recording of that, when I finally got it together, I was like, that's cool, we'll just record it. You can hear like samurai sword fighting in the background, like folks' heads flying off and stuff. But I like it because it's not got it's not really got a structure. It's not got like a verse or a chorus. It kind of just flows, and
there's a flow
to it. Always change. And initially, I'd kind of I suppose it's like when you're writing anything and just about going and record it, especially something as bare as like just a classical guitar. I was almost going to go overboard and like there's a tiny little bit of synth in the background.
Yeah.
But in my head, I was almost going to build it up to be almost orchestral level. And I'm really glad I didn't, because it's just the guitar there, and that's what gives it that kind of feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I like that it's like warts and all, so you can hear scuffs and things like that on the guitar. I think it just makes it so much more. It's like a human thing in amongst this album, this cosmic horror, and I quite like that. I mean, it's obviously got a wee sneaky synth in the back to give it a bit of.
But it
feels almost like the planet behind you. It's cool.
Yeah, and the synth film is kind of just done so it's just there. And it kind of comes in a little bit more at one section, but then it's always kind of constantly disappearing. So it's like that subconsciously, you just think it's the guitar.
It kind of just gives it a nice tint, you know, because I mean, like it's an open-ended song for me in relation to, it gives the listener an opportunity, obviously, to take a break from all the riffs, but it also gives them, as you said, time to just reflect and think about your own shit while you're listening to the acoustic. That's what I found with it, you know.
You know what though? That means that, like, you know, without being cheesy, that means a lot, man, because that's me, you know, like striking emotions out of other human beings. So that's
absolutely, because it's open ended, you know, and I'm glad you didn't do the big fucking orchestra, because that's a bit contrived, you know.
But I think there was definitely there's a level of, you know, like give me a guitar dropped in G sharp and I'll fucking leather it. But when it comes to like just that. Give that, you know, that classical guitar, the most complicated bit. Even if you hear the other stuff I've done before, which I'm really proud of, it's still usually like layers up, and then it's a big heavy song. Whereas this was just its own piece. It was like, that's it. You know what I mean? Take it or leave it,
yeah. Cool. Excellent stuff. Okay, so I do have a few favorites on the album, because you know, it will change obviously over time, but this certainly is one of them. It awaits. So here we go.
From the grave it becomes, turning us to house. It's no way. The holy shameless tormented lies to invoke absolute. It's no way. The holy shameless tormented lies to invoke absolute.
Excuse my French, but you're teasing cunts, I must say. Like, just like, especially you, Keaton, that fucking section that I picked there, the drum in there, you're just like teasing it, almost sleight of hand, you know, fooling the listener, and then fucking bang.
Yeah, I remember writing that because I'd written obviously we just were playing it. We was just playing that chunky riff, and I was like, yes, doing the fills that felt good at the time.
Yeah.
Recorded it on a phone, and then but obviously I'm just making up the fills as I go along. So then like we were playing it the next time at Jam, and then I played like a different fill, and Luke was fucking raging. It was like what the fuck? Where's that fill? Where's the fill that you did on the phone recording? Just do it like you did on the phone recording. And I was like, that was off the cuff itself, but obviously it just was like it was the right fills for the right place.
It's the one I remember when you're like, I still get pissed off if you don't do that. I was like, that was you just mucking about, and I was like, that's really important to me, that fill. Where's that fill? Get it back in.
Yeah,
that's a good example at the end of that of again, riff just made up on the spot, just fucking jamming what's cool. But really, I was just holding that riff, and Keith's actually just writing the riffs on the drum.
Yeah,
and then he would be writing the fills, and I would be changing all the kind of variations and changes you hear in the riff are because Keith's had changed something. So I was like, I'm copying his riff. So it's like, that's a great ending. Can't wait to play that.
It's fantastic, and again, it just fucking kills the predictability that a lot of bands fall into in following that riff to the nth degree, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Keith was just teasing the listener there.
Always teasing.
The lyrics at the end of that song, I don't know, I still kind of swither as to whether that's one of my favourite bits of singing.
Yeah, it's the singing. I was just going to get onto that, like that.
So all the effects at the end of that, I remember it was like the one part I didn't have an idea for. I didn't have any like vocal ideas, or like I'd kind of maybe mucked about with some timings, but I was singing over the whole riff, and I was like, doesn't fucking need that. It's like too much. There's already loads of singing at the start. So that whole Born of the Dying Age, the Basilisk, I just went into the recording studio, had no fucking clue what I was going to do, and that's what came out. I just sang that.
You serious?
Like, Jamie added an effect. just Jamie added an effect on that. So I think it's like Born of the Dying Age, the Basilisk devours the possessed. And then the second time it just says, lurking, it awaits. And I was like, well, that sounds fucking cool.
I remember that because I remember you saying, I'm just going to go in and do some lyrics. And I was like, trying to persuade you, the end doesn't need any lyrics because it's so fucking heavy and cool anyway. Because I was like, this is going to be shite if you just do it on the spot. It would just be mumbled lyrics. But then you did it. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's fucking cool. Like.
And to be fair to Jamie as well, you know, not to be diminishing his role in it, I'm sure he was open-minded enough with a lot of your changes, even though it was fucking last minute. Like,
Jamie's like, he's brilliant just as a guy to have like on your side when you're recorded, because he's like really patient, but also like when it kind of comes to going into more the kind of producer side and what's cool, he's got an opinion, you know what I mean? And his opinion, an opinion we value, because he's like, you know, he's metal and we've kept him for years, we've been pals and that. But like, there'd be some parts where, like, for instance, kind of jumping a gun bit, like, but of Severed Gods, when it does the whole whispering part, like, blessed be the bastard king. I sang, like, whispered that, and I knew we had to kind of get an effect on it to make cool. But Keith's in the booth, and he's like, that's a load of shite, mate. but Jamie's like, nah, dude, this is really going to capture that part of the song. And it does, especially, and it's funny how one of the lines you can hear how Scottish I am. it's like arrow of eternal sin.
you did break him though, didn't you?
What's that?
You did break Jamie though, didn't you? You fucked him up.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's went through 3 haircuts and 1 broken leg.
There you go.
So.
There you go.
But I think, to be fair, it must be tough for him as well, because as a sound engineer, we don't play to a click.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of engineers don't really deal with that anymore. It tends to be that everything's quantized into a click. So therefore, if you need to redo a section, you know that it's perfectly in. Whereas it's just me and Luke jamming with each other. Yeah. And then we add all the stuff on top of it. So everyone's having to play along with that. So if there's sections that we need to change, it needs to get a bit creative. We're working out like you can maybe replace wee bits, but no much. Like,
I'm sure he just breaks open a bottle of bubbly when he fuck off and go, thank Christ. He goes into Laura and she fucking rubs his head like and goes, everything's okay, Jamie. They're gone for another few years.
Because then after 4 years, he's forgot how horrible it was. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Like.
No, but like, he's a good dude, and I'm like, we're so glad that we went with this album with him as well, because it's like it wouldn't have sounded like this, or
no,
I think it's
don't
important
think
when you're in a studio environment, you need to be with someone that you trust and who gets what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of recording engineers would be like, "What? You're not using a click?" And you're like, "But it's really important to who we are and how we sound." And I know a lot of guys would like be turning their noses up at that, but Jamie gets that. He gets making it real and having that.
You could see that relationship in the Electric Abyss, lads.
Yeah.
You know, this is the fruition of it. Like,
one of the things that's good to see from that as well is, like, obviously as a band you can see progression between albums, but it's good to see progression from an engineer. So when I listen to the Electric Abyss, like that sounds amazing and it sounds great, and he did a really good job with that. That was just recorded in our practice room, like, but with all the stuff. But then moving into the Red Verse, I'm like, that's a step above that. So it's good to see that Jamie is just constantly on the up as well. Like, you always want to know that people are just constantly learning.
Oh, absolutely.
It's nice because it was like in the studios. We were the first band in Nameless City Sound studio. So like it was exciting for Jamie that he didn't really know his room that well at that point. So I mean, even on the guitar cab, we had about 8 mics in it. I was like, really? He's like, just in case.
But the first band did it, and then he's gone into administration. Fuck this.
Fuck that.
I hate him even more. Okay, track 8 is Godless, Carrion, Pit.
I can guess what bit you're going to pick from this.
Okay. Right, we'll see. We'll see. Does
it go like this?
There's a song out of a lot of them there that I was imagining he had fun with. You know, you just didn't have a fucking rule book with that one. He just fucking jammed the shit out of it. And Luke there again, like throwing in some fucking weird noises there just to, again, add to the punch.
Yeah, man. The ghostly.
I would weirdly say, like, that song definitely has a different range, like a different range of influences, like all over the place. But weirdly, quite a big one on it is Thin Lizzy, which I mentioned in the last podcast. But there's a total Thin Lizzy vibe, but you didn't hear it in that section that you just played, but earlier on in it.
Okay, yeah.
Richie, the nickname for the song before we had a name was Fat Lizzy. Like, and then it ended up like it was weird, but we called it Godless Carrion Pit because it was called Fat Lizzy for so long.
Fucking mental. Jesus
when you record
Christ.
Different versions, though, you end up with like your phone's filled with all these different files, and it starts with like Fat Lizzy, and then it's like Fat Lizzy G Boys, Fat Lizzy G Boys. You end up with the title being fucking massive.
I do vividly remember like a fucking song name being Fat Lizzy G Boys New.
Oh, that's brilliant. But yeah, no, you mentioned it. Yeah, the Thin Lizzy influence. Yeah, at the fucking start. Yeah, the harmonies. Yeah,
it's definitely like one of those songs that we needed. That the kind of like the gurning sort of
gurning,
like the chunk and stuff like that. Is plus that's another one that's down at G sharp, so it's got that feeling of just like, which is cool. And I really like that song. I think it's kind of a grower as well, because when I'm playing it, it's actually weirdly hard to play the kicks that speed because it's slow. And it's quite hard to play slow and constant with those sort of things because the kicks are so sort of slow compared to what I'm used to playing. But that's one of the ones that's just fun. Like when you're playing it, you get to that sort of Thin Lizzy chorus bit and you're just like, oh, yes. And then that ending is like one of my favourite endings in the album.
Yes, absolutely.
And it just goes mental.
It's dead like, this is kind of like the third one out of the trilogy of like songs dedicated to John Carpenter. So we did like Outpost 31, The Thing, and then we did Lord of the Vile, which is Prince of Darkness.
Okay,
and this is Godless Carrion Pits for In the Mouth of Madness. So all the lyrics are tied to In the Mouth of Madness. So there's a total nod to John Carpenter being the fucking dude that he is. But then when it changes riff-wise, I knew I wanted to go intense because if you've seen the film, the part where she like pretty much she's reading from the chapter of sort of Kane's new book, and like the next realms, like the walls ripping apart and all the beasts come out and chase him. That's pretty much what that riff's meant to be, of them being like, you're getting leathered, Sam Neill.
But because of like the lyrics and stuff like that aren't too on the nose, it means that we can kind of, it merges in with the sort of feel of the album anyway. So the whole idea of what you're singing about can be on Mars or on this total separate, separate universe. It doesn't need to necessarily be that, but that's definitely the influence of it. That's the main thing. But
I just thought that riff at the start just never really ends. It's just like, all right, now I know when the end of the riff is. No, you don't.
I thought it was funny with that as well because Steve Marshall from Boz, I don't know if you've heard of Boz. Just like
yes, I have heard of Boz. Yeah,
they're really, really, really fucking good. But Steve Marshall like really likes Dog Tired, and he's very impatient. So he'd been asking for the album for absolutely ages, and he'd just been wanting to hear it. So Luke sent him out when he was drunk.
Yeah, I don't know.
And Steve like listened to it. And he came back and he was like talking like he loved it. He absolutely loves the whole album. But he was like, "What the fuck are you trying to do to me? Like, why have you made the John Carpenter third one in the trilogy not song number 6?" And we were like, I didn't even realize that we'd done that before. Like, it turns out that we have a pattern where it's number 6 on.
Oh my god! So it would have been the 666 and all.
Yeah, exactly. The trilogy, but then we've made it 8 because we like to fuck things up.
Yeah. Well, look, Relic sits perfectly in at number 6 anyway. So you can't,
exactly.
You can't deny that.
If we put Godless at 6, I think you'd just be like, Jesus Christ.
It would be actually face melting. You know, you'd just be overwhelmed by the riff and the heaviness. So you did the right thing, lads. You know. I must say as well, Keith, your drumming right through the album is fantastic, and I love the way Jamie has captured your sound. I think he has done a fantastic job. Would you agree with that, Luke? The way he's captured the sound?
Finally hearing the kind of final mix and knowing it's like, you know, we kind of got to a point that we were really happy with it. Like, I know it was quite a long process going in between like Jamie and ourselves as well, and being like this up, this down, change the tone of the guitars and make the kicks louder and stuff. But hearing it now, I'm just like, it's the best Keith's ever sounded on anything. You know what I mean? It's the best. Like, it does finally, and I think all the other albums were great as well, especially Electric Abyss and that, but never really captured like me standing in front of Keith, like him playing the drums and just what I hear. But on this album, you do. You get that feeling. So
yeah, it's the first time I've been like fully happy with the way the drums are. Because everything's fucking blasting.
Yes.
Like, see, every time you're usually like, oh, okay, we get the kicks up, and then it's normally like, oh, well, I think they're loud enough. I think you're going to hear them in the master and stuff. Whereas this one, Jamie actually just sent us them, and he's like, when you were saying turn the kicks up, he did.
Yeah.
And like, when he, all this sort of stuff, rather than saying no, you can't and stuff like that, he had specific. Obviously, he's got like things where he's like, that'll fuck up the sound. That'll because he knows what he's doing. But we've got the kicks and everything to a level where I was like, I can actually hear everything. I can hear all the toms. I can hear the kicks. The toms aren't woomping. Like the kicks sound monstrous. Like the louder you have it, the better a system you have, the more thunderous the kicks are.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
it sounds like a guy playing a kit. Doesn't sound like you know, you've just had a couple of pots and pans and then they've just put it into like some sort of digital system. It sounds like a dude leather in a kit. And
that's the stuff like
the snare you've got is fucking mental. It's got that. It's got that 90s smash to it. You're like,
but like, I think yes, stuff like as well with us not recording to a click, it means that quite often certain sections you'll hear inconsistencies a little bit. So like, that blasting, for example, we just listened to, that's real. So therefore, you can hear like it's not all exactly the same. It's not cut and paste exactly. Like you've basically got a MIDI and then pasted over it with the different samples and things like that.
Yeah,
and I think that kind of adds to it because our sound is meant to be that
exactly. You got
like,
it.
Natural. It's us playing. There's obviously bits where I would cut in and things like that, or like you can use little bits of cut and paste and things depending on if you fucked up little bits or things like that kind of thing. But overall, it's still always me playing.
We're talking takes, though, Keith. You know, like that take was great, but we'll use this massive section from another. Take. That's like, what you're talking about, man. You know what I mean?
But no, it was the most I've ever had the kit back, like the sound of it, and being like, "That's fucking perfect."
Yeah.
Like we got to the stage where I was like, "Look, like all that's left is sort of your guitar tone," and I was like, "Because I am the drum sound amazing."
You're done, like
yeah. I'm so happy. Like Jamie's definitely like fucking sorted that. Like it sounded amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Track 9, the only instrumental, and it's a 10-minute epic, Pillars of Phobos. So there was loads to choose here, but this eventually was the piece I went with. So we talked about emotion in Relic, and this is another one of those that just kind of raises the hairs on your hand. It just brings me back to maybe when I was 16, listening to early Metallica, and it's just a happy place, man. It's a fucking place that I love going back to, and certain albums will bring those memories flooding in, and somehow or other, man, you brought me back to that place, and it's very, very difficult to do in relation to, we'll say, any band, but the fact that we all know each other as well, and for this to appear as track number 9 on the fucking album, for me, I was just like nearly in a heap over this, like, so thank you.
That's amazing to hear, man. Like, that's fucking awesome. Sorry.
So that's the same. That's why we created it for ourselves as well, man. Because it's like takes you back to Master of Puppets, Justice for All those fucking heyday albums that we grew up with.
Yeah,
and that's what we love. And this is almost like, you know, the instrumental on the last one and this one especially is like it's for us. You know what I mean? It's for like, you know, I'm glad that you're saying that as well, because it's like that's exactly why we wrote it, for all those like the heyday moments of when you were a kid and you're growing up listening to those specific albums of Metallica. Yeah. And I just don't think it gets done anymore. We just do this for ourselves, and I'm so fucking glad that you love it as well, man. Like,
these are like the like that tune especially, and the last instrumental that we did as well, Hunter's Moon. Yeah. These are the ones where it's just fun because me and Luke just get to jam.
Yeah,
like it has that proper feeling. It almost feels like playing an old song that we've like learned a cover of or something like that. So like when we're jamming together, it's totally melded and it's just fun basically. And then you come to record it, and your arse collapses, but but it's normally fun. But yeah, like I think the riffs sound phenomenal. Like throughout the whole album, like this is the best that the guitars have ever sounded. I think it's the closest to you being in front of you that we've ever had as well. Because like it just sounds like your sound, and I think that quite often we've struggled to get that on albums. Yeah. Whereas like, I mean, the Electric Abyss was sounded amazing as well, but I think this one, after that last sort of tweak, is just so blatantly Luke playing. Like, yeah, it's fucking amazing. And like this song's a really good sort of example of that. It's just riffs. Yeah. And it's just Luke fucking enjoying himself, basically. And you can just feel that sound that he gets through the PV Invective that you use and everything on stage, where everyone's like, Ken, when after the gig, everyone comes up and it's just like, what the fuck amp are you using? Like, what pedals are you using? You're like, a noise suppressor. That's it. And people forget that you can just fucking have an amp, blast it loud, have a good amp, and it sounds amazing, because I think people get caught up in their like little tweaks and stuff like that, but then you listen to something like that song and you're just like, fuck, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, and Keith, to be fair, you didn't complicate it either with the drums. You just...
I wasn't allowed to.
There was a couple of bits, like there's one riff that's like and I was like, dude, this is like Metallica as fuck. And Keith's like whipping out these fills, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this doesn't need any fill. He's like, well, the whole thing. I was like, no, you've got loads of fills.
Yeah. To be fair,
good advice.
Like these songs should have simple drumming. Actually, weirdly, the last riff's really hard to play because it does a build-up, and then it goes into such a slow beat that it's like hard to even know where you're coming in. It was actually like, it's really strange. But
so that riff is like, I joked and called it the Phoenix riff. Don't know why. Sometimes you just need to give riffs names. But that riff appears twice on the album in different timings. So it appears at the end of Relic, that same riff at the end of Pillars. And it's like, that's
fair enough. Like, yes.
I love that. I love the idea of like, I can't think of a band now, but like when there's like a riff that's kind of repeated, but it's not quite the same, and you get in some absolute melter of
sneaky riffs.
I've come across them before in albums because it just connects the songs, doesn't it? Yeah. It might skip two songs maybe, but it still connects maybe the third one in the pattern or something like that.
And you might not notice it for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you listen to the album one day and you're like, that's that same fucking riff.
Yeah. Same riff, man. Also, I love the fact in the song, Keith, that it's really hard when it's just like, a drummer and a guitarist that usually plays like heavy, coming up with like a middle part that was clean. Like, that's the cleanest we've ever went in the middle of this, and it pays off because it sounds like Metallica, but almost a bit of Gojira kind of vibe in it.
It does, but you know what else it gives?
It sounds like us.
What else it gives, Luke, is emotion.
Yeah, totally.
I think so. Like the end of the tune when it kicks in, you're kind of like, I end up just happy.
Yeah.
It just makes me like fucking.
And also that is cool that like you said what you said as well, but there's no vocals on this. There's no lyrics. There's nothing like that. It's just music, which is like that's the strongest it can be.
Also, with this tune, it was actually quite cool that Barry came in with a bunch of bass bits that like they weren't written for anything to do with the guitar. That was just Barry coming up with them, and it was cool to have that kind of input where you can actually, because normally bass obviously gets a bit swallowed in a song, but those bits are so sparse anyway that you can actually hear them coming through, and I think that was cool as fuck to see. Like,
hearing his wee bits.
Wee bits. That's your wee bits.
Oh, that's nice. It's his wee bit. I remember when we first got the version back from Jamie, because Jamie loves the album, but he fucking, like, as soon as we started playing this one, he was like, what the fuck, guys? I've got all these ideas and that. And when we first got it back, Barry's bass bit at the start was fucking blatant. Like, blatant. I was like, dude, the bass can't be that loud. No, it's no loud, man. I was like, I can't hear anything else but when Barry's wee bit. And then he turned it down, and I was like, mate, you've just new-stated him. You can't hear it all. So you're like, a little middle ground there, like,
Oh, let's get on to my favorite track of the album. and it's the title of it, the red verse. Okay, so let's see if you're going to be impressed with what I picked out.
On the end.
The end.
The album, everybody, hear the rest of it. The reason why I picked out this section is I think you're a fucking fantastic band to build platforms for the vocals with the guitar and drums there. Do you understand what I mean? There's platforms built there deliberately, I think, to emphasize the strength of those vocals and the delivery of the vocals. So that's why I picked that section in particular with that song. So
yeah, I think it's one of the few times, it's something that we've not done that often, but I really enjoy doing. Is like really pulled back and really foreboding, or whatever the word is, ominous feeling, like build up of like, it feels fucked kind of thing, if you know what I mean. And but then to have that riff, like one of the slowest riffs on the album, like totally lumbering riff but heavy as fuck, with the kicks being the fastest they've ever been, the fastest they've ever played kicks. Yeah, but like that all together, like they're getting through this riff like really slow, and I'm in the back fucking dying. But the way that it comes together, it's almost like it's kind of like our version of a High on Fire, Nation on Fire. Like like that Machine Head song that builds up from the Burn My Eyes, the really good album. That Nation on Fire always had that feeling where the whole song is like a build up and it's all tense as fuck. And then it gets to the end and it like doubles the speed. It's fucking. But it's like our version of that, but it's got total High on Fire vibes, like especially like that In the Snake's tongue bit. That's my favorite vocal bit I think on the album, when it's all like high and it's just like the snakes.
Yes. Absolutely. So there's a reason why I'm wearing this fucking tonight, lads.
They kind of those lyrics just wrote themselves. It was almost like that's so heavy, it just kind of spills on the page. I knew I wanted it to be that intense. Me and Chris both just screaming at that tone as well, which is just like, it's just fucking evil. Like playing that, like we haven't played it live yet. We're gonna do it on Saturday, but it's in the practice room. There's goosebumps. You're just like, holy fuck, this is like out of hand, kind of. And it's just, and for it to go like that slow, and that's really, as Keith saying, that's quite unusual for us to be like that, kind of lumbering. And then at the end, to just go into that succession of absolute fucking riff soup at the end. It's amazing. And that was like, there was no to and fro, and we just went into jam and recorded that whole section at the end in a one-hour, and we're like, done, let's forget about it and do the next one.
Amazing. But like, again, that's why I didn't pick that out, because it's a simple one to do that. I mean, I've riffs upon riffs written down in my notes, and it is my favorite track, but it's just, I just want to bring back the whole thing that when you're songwriting and when you're in a jam room and you're building these riffs, but without lyrics, I would imagine, or without maybe, is your thought process, Luke, to maybe slow down a section there? Have you got like this vocal delivery in mind when you're creating with Keith? Like, or does this happen in the recording studio where you're going, okay, so we have this?
So we'll get the riffs together, and then obviously we've got like a kind of phone recording of it. So I'll just be listening to it, and then it'll just come up with like ideas of timings. It's all just about timings.
It is timings, cool. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, what sounds cool in that section, and then I'll kind of. It's nice to have like where I'm sitting here. We've got like a re-recording studio as well. So when I was writing the lyrics, I would come in here and just like draft ideas, or just sometimes just shout into the mic and just be like, "Does that sound cool?" But like Red Verse just fell into place immediately. It was first lyrics I wrote on the whole thing, and when you start off with something like that, you're like, well, okay, the rest of it, cool, it's fine. You know what I mean? I've got that, it's cool. In blood it was written, in skin it was bound. Done.
Man, that's
but it's like, I know it's not like kind of left out Chris in this, but like, we all have like a picture with the lyrics. I'll just, as I said, my brain just goes, and I'll write loads of stuff down. But I would be like texting them to like a whole song to the band, and then folk would be pitching in and be like, yeah, does that sound cool? And I'm like, yes, because it's it's talking about like something being fermented in bile. That's metal.
So it's that's what I'm saying though. I'm still trying to grasp the fact that like those platforms, because you are building platforms of riffs there to supplement the delivery. It seems to me anyway, to supplement the delivery of those fucking fantastic vocals that are layered upon it again. And I don't think maybe it just happens naturally for you, but like
there wasn't any kind of proper planning and this is what it's going to sound like. Me and Keith just kind of worked those arrangements out and we're like, well, that's fucking metal. Do you know, it's not even cooler.
Yeah.
Just screamed really high over it. So suddenly you got like, talking about platforms, you got like the high singing that's like intense.
Yes. Yeah.
But then you've got the lumbering riff, which is slow. And that's the juxtaposition of Keith playing the fastest kicks he's ever done.
Yes.
So you put all together, you're just like, what the fuck?
I know. It's fucking mad. Like, it really is. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. I remember like thinking, should I change them to like threes or something like that? The kicks just to slow it down a bit because it's fucking nails. And I don't use triggers, so you're going to see me die when you're at the launch. Like
it's the last song, man. So it's
I'll be fine. Like, but
well, there you go.
Right after it. But I was going to say something else about that. So the fast kick bit with Keith's drumming. Again, we talk about should I add a fill-in, like essentially to like keep his momentum. I was like, no. It takes and there's like a fill, like it just does a weird time. It goes down it, and it goes back to the riff, and that's all he's got. So he's like full kicks, fuck you, full kicks.
I think the last riffs as well. I'm pretty sure that you used to have a different ending, and we played. And then
let's talk about the ending, because like I was expecting to end with the synth, and then the guitars came back in again.
Oh yeah, that riff was too good to not have in again. Just to ruin all the kind of ambient. Like, I mean, I love all the kind of synth stuff and do that one here. To Jamie's hatred of synth, but I was like, come on, man, it will sound cool. Turn it up. But so I guess Keith was saying we had like I can't even remember how the riff went. It was something shiny how it went now, but we had this whole kind of few riff. Like at the end, and it just didn't sit well. And that whole end section, as I said, we just wrote that as one piece in about an hour. And it kind of came in and was like, right, Keith, you were right. That ending was shite. What about this? And then we just wrote that.
As soon as you played the riff that it now has, I was like, fuck yeah, that's it.
That's
like
it,
that is 100% it. And it was one of those riffs as well where, because you always get these points in an album where you picture yourself playing it on a big stage.
Yeah.
On a festival in the day or something, like whenever, and that ending is exactly what we picture, just being, because that's where you can just let go and have fun at the end, because you're like, oh, this is just fucking riff suit for ages, and it's fun. There'll be loads of headbanging. It'll just be fucking great. You picture yourself playing that with like the wind blowing and everything in this big massive stage. That's definitely the song that when I'm playing it in jam, I quite often fuck it up because I'm away in my head like, oh wow.
The wind blowing in through your beard, Keith.
Yeah, through my beard.
Yeah, it's what a finale, and that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? It's the build up to the finale, and the red verse, the song, the album. It is epic in every way, and I mean, I'm just fucking in awe of it. It's incredible. It's arriving at the right time, I think, because there's kind of a lull in general in, I would say, maybe around the European scene anyway, for something like this. There's fucking this thing now will land, man, and hopefully it will cause fucking cracks across fucking Scotland, Ireland, and fucking into Europe, because they're I don't know. I'm trying to think of an album as good as it, as heavy as it, and there's fucking catchiness as well. But like, they don't seem to be around at the moment, lads. So I mean, what you have done and what you've created, and there's been a team effort as well with Jamie and Laura as well, and obviously Chris and Barry aren't here tonight. It's a testimony to you, and man, the Electric Abyss stood on its own, but this fucking thing towers over it, man. And for those that are going to go to the gig, which is, I'll get to this now, it's in La Belle Angel, it's on Saturday night. There's plenty of time yet, lads. Today's only fucking Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Get tickets, man, and buy and go and enjoy. Sit back and relax and see one of the best fucking bands in Scotland pulling out their 5th album, man. That's the way I look at it.
Thanks so much, man. It's really nice to hear that as well, because obviously we've had like a couple of reviews and things like that back, and they've all been like really, really positive, and been like really like glowing reviews and stuff. But when you actually hear somebody you can, I think it means more.
Yeah.
Coming from you, obviously, because we will take the piss out of each other all we can. But
yeah, of course, yeah, obviously. But I mean, fucking hell, I needed an album like that. Jesus, I badly needed it. So it's out on the 3rd of June, which is when this podcast is out. There is is there a limited amount of CDs, or?
If you want a CD, you can have one. That's
okay.
There's enough.
It's a limited amount considering the fact that people don't tend to buy CDs these days. But we will eventually get it probably on vinyl. But it'll.
Oh wow! Okay.
For one, there's a big waiting queue. I think it's like fucking 9 months or 10 months. For two, it's expensive because the album's about 50 minutes, which I think means it has to be a double LP. And obviously, we want the LP to be read, so it's.
It's the type of thing that we didn't have the funds available to create the vinyl for the launch day, but I mean, fuck, I would love to get a vinyl for the Red Verse. I think it deserves a double vinyl.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just for us to put on our wall.
So it's tentatively titled the Heavy Metal Vomit Party of the Year.
Oh yeah.
So joining you on the night will be Disposable, massive shout out, Catalysts, Primitive Voices, and Big Iron.
Yeah, Big Iron. Who the fuck are they?
Who the fuck are Big Iron?
Obviously friends.
They're like a new band, and they've just started releasing their stuff, and it's like kind of key members like Jack Sandilands and Kieran Johnson, who's like some fucking phenomenal guitar player.
Okay.
And Oliver from he's the guitarist in Disposable as well, but there's a new band coming out, and they did this absolutely amazing cracker of a fucking promo video with like us in France, Disposable, and like Metallica in Paris, all just saying, "Who the fuck are Big Iron?" It was amazing. It was like a great way to start off because that's already word's already spread, and folk are like, "Who the fuck are Big Iron?"
All the comments on the event page are just like, "Who the fuck are Big Iron?"
I mean, hats off to like every band on that bill. They're all fucking solid, amazing bands, solid dudes, but they've all also done a fucking cracking job at helping us out, helping me out promote the shit out of this gig. I mean, I feel like you can't turn without knowing that this is happening. So hats off to all of them, like.
And you know what? It starts at 5:30 as well, so you can actually bring 14-year-olds upwards, which is cool. Thanks, lads, for that. They're the people that should be going to these gigs as well and witnessing this. It's great, man. It might encourage a few more of their friends to pick up guitars, drums, you know.
And that's such a massive part of it as well. Like, if you think about, like, we've played a couple of gigs in Edinburgh recently that's been a lot of, like, the kind of student, like, aged folk coming along and petting and stuff like that. And you're just getting involved, wearing the hoodies and stuff. And you're like, these guys are the next bands. You know what I mean? These are the ones you want to get them in the door. For instance, shout out to my pal Bud's nephew, who for his birthday was like, "Can I just get a dog tired t-shirt?" and I was like, well, does he want a CD or is that just redundant to young people these days? But, you know, he's coming along to the gig. It's going to be cool. And, like, he's a fucking amazing drummer. Apparently, Bud was saying, he was like, how are the drumming skills coming on? And then just leathered the start Painkiller. So I was like,
wow, fair enough. Good statement of intent. And also, he went actually, how could I say this? A listening party.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where the fuck are you going with this? Like, have you just completely sold out? Is this dog turd selling out to the corporation?
Right.
Listening party.
This wasn't my idea.
Oh, they're all.
I was
so who's getting blamed for this?
I was like, we're allowed to play our own fucking tunes and get absolutely away with it. Fucking legends after it. That sounds amazing. Let's do that.
Yeah, to be honest, it's not going to be like a sitting in a room and being like, this bit. It's everyone standing in Legends, drinking beers and talking to each other while the album plays.
It was either that or being completely steaming in someone else's kitchen with a speaker, being like, listen to that bit.
Yeah. That's going to happen anyway.
Which happens, you know. Shout out to all the fucking pals from like Carrion and Edinburgh that have like suffered being Keith just showing different versions of our album to their faces at about 5 a.m. Mate, listen to this bit.
Brilliant. I love it. Just the term listening party I cracked up when I consider ye fucking lunatics.
It'll be
the metal party of the year.
Part is like going to be packing up the gear and high-fiving everyone and all that, like in swift fashion to get up the road and be there on time to play it. Because fuck, that's going to happen. We're saying to the DJ, sorry mate, we're just going to bleed it over.
So again, lads, for those that are listening, because this is coming out at 8 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning, it's the album is out that day. Will it be out at 8 in the morning?
The album's out the Saturday.
Oh, it's Saturday.
Yeah,
okay,
Saturday,
So okay, cool.
I don't know what time it's out because Barry handles a lot of the Spotify stuff.
I think it might be actually at the stroke of, like, it's just out on the 3rd. It might be out at the stroke of 12. So focus.
Okay, cool.
12.
Cool.
Learn all the lyrics.
Fingers on the pulse then. So it's again the Red Verse. The album launches in Edinburgh's #1 venue for metal, La Belle Angel. Would that be correct?
Yep.
And expect nothing but absolute. What's it?
Unadulterated.
Unadulterated carnage. Who comes up with this shit? Like Barry? Will we blame Barry?
Might have been me if it's there.
might have been me. Definitely you.
Yeah, lads. Best luck with the album launch and the album itself. As I said, I can't speak highly enough of it. It's fucking fantastic. It's what the metal scene needs at the moment, especially in the UK and the Irish scene. And a bar has been set for everybody, for every band out there. And Dog Turd has certainly led the way with this. And congratulations. Thanks for coming on the show, Keith and Luke.
Cheers,
Thanks very much for having us, man. It's been great.
Yeah, and crucially, support your local metal scene.
Riffs.
Yes.
Riffs.